Fox Valley in Focus. I'm Barb Nadeau, and we've got some really timely topics today. Our guests include Kathy Tollaksen from the Volunteer Individual Tax Assistance Program, Tom Noller from the AARP Tax-Aide Service, and Tom Ciciora, the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Sandwich. So keep tuned because we have so much information to share today. We'll be right back.
Whatever we deny or embrace, for worse or for better.
Underneath everything we are all people. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Our first guest today is Tom Ciciora. He's the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Sandwich, and it's always great to talk with you. Thanks for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
You were telling me just before we went on the air, you've been in this job since 2002?
2002 I was appointed, yes.
And of course you had a history before that of working in emergency management as well, but as the director, you've seen a lot.
Yeah, it's been a lot over time to watch things change. And the tools that we have now to work with compared to before, and of course the public is getting smarter too.
Well, we have so much access to news. We every time we turn on the TV or listen to the radio, we hear an alert, we are hearing the weather, there's something happening, and it seems like our tools, as you said, to track the weather are getting so much more sophisticated.
Yeah, they are. Everybody's got a weather alert possibility in their pocket with their phone, radar in their pocket, even though they may or may not know how to interpret it.
Does that make us feel more immune, though, like we can handle whatever's coming, or does that give people a unequal sense of urgency?
I think it's the inertia of the people that never paid attention that's still there, and the people that are more apt to be weather savvy and step out in front and try to be prepared. They're going to use those tools and do more.
Well, you always have a new generation to teach, though.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it comes down to the same thing. When you put out a warning or a statement of some sort, it comes down to not whether or not you get it, it's what you do with it when you've got it. Mm-hmm. If you get your warning, it's, oh, gee, that's nice.
So education's a big part of your job.
Yes, it has to be. It has to be. We have the outreach with our Facebook page, and of course I'll go wherever anybody will have me.
Well, now you just mentioned that Facebook page. Where do we find you?
That is Sandwich, Illinois IL Emergency Management Agency, all spelled out except for the state abbreviation.
Okay, Sandwich IL Emergency Management Agency on Facebook, and we can see your posts. We can like you, and then we'll keep getting those posts and updates.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's good because it's focused right on Sandwich, you know, and of course we can take that information if we live in Plano or Yorkville, the surrounding communities, we can take that information, but you really can get that detailed and that accurate.
Yeah, or we can step back like we are for the coming months and the severe weather preparedness.
Well, Severe Weather Preparedness Week is the first week in March, but we've already seen some severe weather in February, and it can really happen anytime, right? Are there trends like throughout the year that you will see?
The textbook says the season is from May to June. Now, that's been a misnomer for a long time. We have gotten severe weather of thunderstorms, tornadoes, and what have you, any month of the year.
Well, I'm thinking November. Didn't we have, was it last year that we had?
Year before, yes. Mm-hmm. And whenever the conditions are right, that's what we keep trying to tell people. It's not a seasonal thing, it's when the conditions are right.
Now, you've had some really profound things that have happened in our area. Fairdale, Rochelle, Washington, Illinois, Coal City twice in recent years.
That's it, and people should understand, this is not abstract. Mm-hmm. This is real, it's a threat, so you need to be prepared.
Well, you know, I think of Washington when that tornado struck, and that story of those people that had gotten, you know, buried in that building, that stone building, and were trying to get out, and that was a huge news story, and people were concerned about them, but that was just devastating what happened in that community.
Well, that was a case of do everything right and it still went wrong.
Mm-hmm. So how do you know what to do?
All you can do is follow along with the rules established.
Okay, so let's go through some of those.
Well, first of all, you need to be aware. There's technology in place where you can know several days in advance whether or not we're going to have bad weather.
Okay, is that, and that's getting more accurate, as you said, but
And I'm talking about through the Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, not through the guy on the evening news who just wants you to tune back in. Because they can always pull back and say, whoopsie.
well, people don't really like those weather radios.
No, but if
They're annoying.
if they're set up
They
correctly.
squeak at you and they talk to you when you don't want to be interrupted.
Oh, I understand completely. The old ones were awful. But now if you set them up correctly according to the instructions, and now they're so simple, it's all you have to do is input your county and you're done.
Okay.
So it's
So it
only
is a good thing to have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't stay home without one, nor same as a smoke alarm or CO detector.
You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of people nowadays that don't even have a radio in their home. They have a TV, they have cable maybe or dish, but if something were to go wrong, they don't have an old-fashioned radio.
Well, that's it. And that's something that we recommend for when you select that shelter area in your home. That you're going to go down in the lowest portion of your home. If you have a basement, you're going to underneath a stairwell or underneath a workbench or something like that. Underneath there, you're going to have flashlights, heavy blankets, and a battery-powered radio. Why the battery-powered radio? So you know when to come out.
Okay, the electricity goes.
That's right.
You need that battery-powered radio.
Yeah, exactly.
So that should be like best practices, something that you do in your home, like periodically check and make sure it's working.
Yeah, check the batteries, make sure the kids haven't gotten into the flashlights. Now, if you're in a single-story home on a slab, smallest room in the house, you put the same things in there.
That's why they say go sit in the bathtub.
Exactly. Bathtub, couch cushions, many a storm's been ridden out in the plains like that.
Okay.
Now, if you're in manufactured housing, there's a way to know several days in advance that we're going to have bad weather. Don't be home. You go visit friends for the day.
Okay, that's good advice because
That's-
there are some folks that live in prefab housing or slab housing or trailers
Yeah.
in our area that really need to know
Yeah,
that.
just go visit friends for the day.
Okay. Now we're talking about tornadoes. Of course, we also know that severe thunderstorms can cause trouble. Severe high winds can cause trouble. But something that people don't realize, we actually have a fault line right underneath the city of Sandwich.
Runs diagonally. It is actually named the Sandwich Fault. It's been inactive for years,
Okay.
but it's there.
But it's there, and you keep track of it.
We keep track of everything. We're more concerned about the one down in southern Illinois, the one that runs through Missouri and what have
And
you.
how would that affect Sandwich?
When that lets go, the current thinking is that it's going to affect all the way up here and a pretty good radius.
Sometimes people can feel things. They actually can report it to you.
Well, yeah, but when that lets go, not an if, it's going to affect infrastructure all over the place.
So in your day-to-day, do you worry more about the storm situation and the weather, or are there other things that
Yes.
you are concerned? Okay, so we only have a couple minutes. So I
All of
wanna
the
make-
above.
Okay.
But this time of year, of course, the severe weather takes precedent.
Okay. Well, Tom, it's so good to have you here, and just to have a reminder to be re-educated. And again, that Facebook page, I think, is important to like and watch out for, so we can keep tuned to what's going on in our area. I just want to thank you for being on our show today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Mom,
What?
you can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Everyone has friends. There's online friends, friends to go out with on a Saturday night, friends to hang out with and do nothing, friends who show up on moving day. And then there are the friends who'll be there if someone is dealing with a mental illness. Are you one of those friends?
Of course, it's tax season, and we have some important information to share with you. Our guest now is Kathy Tollaksen. She's a site coordinator for the VITA program. That's the Volunteer Individual Tax Assistance Program. I got that right, Kathy?
Correct.
You want to start all over?
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, ready?
Okay. Of course, it's tax season now, and we have some important information we want to share with you. We have two guests here to talk about it. Our first is Kathy Tollaksen. She's a site coordinator for the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. That's the VITA program. And Kathy, thanks for being with us here.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you a site coordinator?
At the Oswego Senior Center in Oswego on 156 East Washington.
And you've been a volunteer there for quite a while.
Yes, I've volunteered with the VITA program for 6 years now, but I do know the Senior Center from a lot of other aspects.
Okay, I want to ask you a little bit more about the center itself, but tell me, how did you get started?
Well, friends of ours told us about the Senior Center as my husband and I were retiring from our full-time work. My husband got involved first. He teaches technology classes over there. And when the IRS approached the Senior Center with regard to setting up a VITA program, of course, my husband volunteered me. My background is in tax, so I was glad to get started in the program.
And so what kind of training did you have to go through? You said you were an accountant, but
Right.
you had to learn that program, right?
Right. I was a tax partner with a regional firm for several years, and the tax program itself is through the IRS. The VITA program is through the IRS. Our training is pretty intensive when we have to certify every year, no matter what our background is. And
so
we
you
do
have
come
to re-up and go through the
every year.
process again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Every year. And our backgrounds, the volunteers' backgrounds are quite different as well. So,
is there that much to learn about the tax laws? Do they change that much?
the tax laws do change, but I think they're also testing us whether we've changed or not. So again, it's pretty intensive. So.
Okay, and nice for you to be able to volunteer someplace that's near and dear to your heart, right there at the Oswego Land Senior Center.
It certainly is. It certainly is.
Now, that center is in the old Trauber Junior High. It's a
Correct.
school, and the Senior Center has taken over a large section of that school, but you have large rooms and breakout rooms. So
Correct.
how does the VITA program situate itself in the Senior Center, and what's that experience like?
Okay, the VITA program actually takes place in the technology lab. We use the center's computers, and we work Monday afternoons from 1 o'clock to 5, 6 o'clock, and a couple of Saturdays during tax season. So we take only taxpayers with appointments. Anyone can call the Senior Center that does qualify to set up an appointment. And then we go through their information after they've completed a questionnaire and go ahead and get started on the return. I'm the reviewer of all returns. They do get a second eye, and then we e-file the returns.
Okay, so you're able to file their taxes right there?
Immediately.
Okay. How long of a process is that for anyone? How long are the appointments usually?
The appointments can be from an hour to sometimes 2 hours. Sometimes we're just meeting with the taxpayer to review their information and come to the conclusion they're not even required to file a return. And we explain why. Mm-hmm. Seniors are still from the school, and I include myself, from the school that they take that to heart. That's their tax return, and they want to make sure they're following the laws and do what they're supposed to do. And coming to our center also enables them to still stay independent with that kind of financial information.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's so important to seniors, is to be independent, and it's a confidence builder for sure, but it's just part of part of life. They want to do things themselves.
Correct.
And you're making that possible. That's wonderful. The VITA program, is that a national program?
It's an IRS program.
Okay.
It's strictly from the IRS. And again, the IRS approached the senior center as well as other universities have it. I believe Waubonsee Community College has it. I know years ago Aurora University had it. I'm not sure if they still do. But it is an IRS program, and that's why we need to be certified under their guidelines. We use their software program. And we're under. They track all our rechecks and everything, and they're our go-to person if we have a particular situation and don't know how to handle it. They're very much there for us.
Well,
so.
that's good to know. So there's a lot of different sites throughout the community. And how would someone choose specifically Oswego Land Senior Center then? That would be just because that's closer to their home?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And a lot of the people that we do serve are participate in the senior center activities. So it's very convenient for them.
Well, that's another plus then, because they come in, they get to see what's going on at the senior center. Good for the center, but it's also good for them to know that they can do that in a comfortable
Right. Many of them we've
place.
seen all 6 years we've been there. So it's just nice to see them once a year too.
And I want to ask you, does it cost money to have your taxes prepared through this?
No, not at all. So.
Okay, and then income guidelines, what are the guidelines for
The guideline
program?
is right now about $55,000, but if we have an individual that we've served in the past and they go slightly over because of an unusual transaction, we'll certainly take care of them this year.
Okay, so they can feel comfortable and confident that professionals are actually doing this for them and it's coming at no cost to them. That's really nice. I think that it is always something that you wonder, okay, what's going to be a little bit different this year, and what have they changed that I need to know? And that can be disconcerting to a senior. Are you seeing a lot of changes in the laws that affect seniors?
Not so much with seniors. With our low-income taxpayers, with the Affordable Care Act, very complicated. And we're trying to get them through that situation, making sure they're in compliance. If they are in a penalty situation, we make sure that the penalty is minimal, and try to get them out of it. So.
And before the show, you had told me that you're seeing a huge need for this program.
Definitely. We're not just talking to these people about their actual income tax return. We answer questions with regard to some of the investments they might be in, and these would be generic questions. We're certainly not selling anything to them. And we also assist them with IRS notices. The center has my phone number, so I do get some calls during the summer to help somebody out with a notice. And we try to explain to them what their tax return is all about.
Okay.
And why they might have less of a refund than last year. And we work for refunds, so.
It really seems like it's something that is just near and dear to your heart, that it really means something to you to be able to help people in this way.
Yes, it definitely is. I always enjoyed my profession, and I'm very grateful that I can still continue working in that area. A little bit different than what I did in my profession, but it's nice to still be in that area, knowing that you're able to help.
Kathy, where can people learn more about the VITA program?
From the standpoint of if you need an appointment, they can call the center.
Okay.
And but from the standpoint of volunteering, actually they can also call the center, and I would be glad to talk to them and get them started on training and what actually is involved. There's certain levels of involvement as well. You don't have to be preparing, be an advanced preparer. You can be a greeter or an interviewer, and all of that is very, very helpful.
Wonderful. Kathy Tollaksen for the Volunteer Individual Tax Assistance Program has been with us, and we're going to come back with one more guest right after this.
Everyone has friends. There's online friends, friends to go out with on a Saturday night, Friends to hang out with and do nothing. Friends who show up on moving day. And then there are the friends who'll be there if someone is dealing with a mental illness. Are you one of those friends?
Mom! Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Tom Noller joins us now. Tom is the state coordinator for the AARP Tax-Aide program. Tom, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
This is really something that, as Kathy was saying a few moments ago, is a huge need. People need help with their income taxes.
Yes, we see a growing number every year because there are more forms every year. It's always getting a little bit more complicated. So
Now, talking with the two of you before the show, I understand that you both come with the basic training. There are some little bit of differences between the two programs, but you both have
they're
the
both
IRS backing.
certified through the IRS program. So it depends on levels. We require a little higher certification levels because we tend to run into some of the more complex things. We do a little higher income folks than the VITA program. So
Okay, so while the voluntary individual tax assistance program is basically low income, how is yours different then?
we're actually funded through a couple of different grants with the IRS and through AARP, and we cover really low to moderate income, similar to VITA, but we also cover seniors. So we'll handle seniors that may have a bit more income.
The most important thing is neither one of these programs handle businesses.
That's correct.
Okay, so it has to be an individual tax.
Yeah, sometimes we get people that have businesses, but they might be a painter, or they might have a babysitting business, or they're small businesses, they don't hire employees, and we'll do those taxes also.
It's so good to have both of you on the show today because people will see this out and they see a press release or they'll see a flyer in a community building, and they need to know whether or not they qualify, and knowing whether or not they can come and get help is probably the most important question of all.
Yes, and it's we've tried to open a lot of facilities and make it easily available to a number of people.
Kathy was saying that there was a great need. You're seeing that too.
Oh yes, every year it gets more, and we tend to have more and more demand on opening new centers to provide taxes. We're only limited by the number of volunteers that we get. So.
Okay, so how do you become a volunteer? How do you get started, and how many months in advance do you have folks, working on this?
We start a pretty stringent training in January. So we usually have a couple of weeks in January where we're doing training, but people can sign up. Before then, obviously, we get a lot of people signing up in September, October time frame.
What are you looking for in a volunteer?
Really someone that just has basic familiarity with computers, because everything's done on computers. And they should be able to handle some of the basic ideas of taxes. We teach them all the intricate details, but it helps if they have been exposed to it.
So you don't necessarily have to be a CPA to be one
No,
of the tax
not at all,
preparers.
not at all.
Okay, so for someone who shows up, what do they need to bring with them, and what's the step-by-step process of going through this whole?
We typically, especially with all the fraud that's going on with the IRS, we're being very stringent about bringing Social Security cards and picture IDs, so that we know you are who you say you are. And then they bring, obviously, all their tax documents. And if they have children or dependents, then they also need to bring Social Security cards and information for them also. The process, different sites, some are appointment sites, similar to what was mentioned earlier. We have some sites that are walk-in sites, so they can just walk in and get their taxes done. They might have to wait a long time, but we tend to handle more people at those sites because we're not waiting for the next appointment to show up. So
Is there a charge for your service?
we're completely free.
Okay.
It's all funded through AARP and the grants from the IRS.
And why did AARP decide to branch out and have their own program? What was it that
They've
was the
done this
impetus?
for many, many, many years. And really AARP's goal is to provide services for seniors in a variety of ways. And they have driver programs, they have a lot of different programs, and they try to handle different aspects of a senior's life to help them through. And this gets into the monetary side. So we're looking to help people financially.
Yeah.
And we estimate we save taxpayers $750 million a year in tax fees just to prepare taxes.
Now, do you have to be a member of AARP to take advantage of some of these things that the organization offers?
No, it's not required to be a member.
I think a lot of people think you
yes,
have to be.
I know. I get that question all the time. Or they say, I can get my taxes done because I have my membership up to date. Well, that's not a requirement. Of course, we'd like people to be part of the program, but definitely not a requirement. And we tend to handle a lot of folks that are not elderly, so they're not part of the program. Yeah.
What is the value to being a member of AARP for you?
Well, I think we get a lot of information. They provide a lot of support for us. So, it's a great program. It's a way to give back to those who are a little more fortunate, to give back to those who are less fortunate.
And when we were talking, you and I, a couple weeks ago, I guess, and you were telling me that everyone who does this has those moments, those life-changing moments. And I wanted to ask you why you said that, and
Well,
tell me a little bit more about that.
I've traveled across the country with, meeting with other areas of the program, and there's always those special moments that why they're in the program. I mean, for me, I had a mother come in one time with 2 small children. Her husband had deserted her 2 years earlier. She hadn't filed taxes last year, and sometimes we get people that just need to talk to somebody. So she just kind of opened up to me, and it turns out her car broke down. She didn't have any money to fix it. She couldn't get to her job because her car was broken. Well, after we went through filing 2 years worth of taxes because she hadn't done it the year before, she ended up with about $6,000 in earned income credits, which of course changed her life. I mean, she was able to get her car fixed and get back to work. And so, of course, there was lots of hugging. So, those kind of experiences where we really get to help people and you see the results, it just makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, and that's really interesting that you said that, because that was a young person.
Yes.
And even though AARP is, looking at retired persons, older adults, you don't have to be of a certain age to come in.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm glad that you told us that story. So anyone can make an appointment?
Yes. And they can call any of the centers. The information is available on the website, aarp.org.
Okay.
And,
okay.
yes, yeah.
In our local area, I know that we have AARP at the Beecher Center in Yorkville. I know that you have some sites in Aurora.
I think Bensonville, Geneva, some other sites.
Okay, so in the Fox Valley area, there are several sites where they could find this program. And again, you said it's aarp.org.
And
then
just search for Tax-Aide.
Tax-Aide.
And there's actually a little calculator there, and you can just put in what your address is and say, I'm looking for a site within 10 miles of my house, and it'll tell you where one's located.
You know, the best thing about doing this show is meeting the people that come and talk to us about just any topic. And I've just really enjoyed learning about this. And this is such good news that you and Kathy have shared with us today. And of course, our emergency preparedness news with Tom Ciciora. It's been just great to have you here. And I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk about this. So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thanks.
That's a look at our show today, and check out these sites that we shared with you. Look up emergency management for the latest in information. Look for information for the VITA program and also the AARP program. And we will see you next time on our show. I'm Barb Nadeau for Fox Valley Television. Thanks for being with us. Okay. I hope that worked out well.
Oh, that worked fine.